Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're studying from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. And we're on text 27. And today is July 3rd, 2022. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and then to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata seveya bhagavat yutamashloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 27. Harita
Harita.
Vatsapai
Vatsapai.
Vatsan
Vatsan.
Charayan
Charayan.
Vyaharat
Vatarat.
Vibhu
Vivu.
Yamuna
Yamuna.
Upavane
Pavane.
Kujat
Gujat.
Dvija
Vija.
Sankulita
Sankulita.
Angripe.
Angripe.
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Parito Vatsaper Vastamas.
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Chariyan Vrayat Vipu.
Yamuno Pavane Kujad
Yamanu Abu Pijad.
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Shiva Sankul Rivan Vipe.
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Parito Vatsaper Vatsmas.
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Chariyan Vrayat Vipu.
Yamuno Pavane Kujad
Yamuna Pavo Kujepan.
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Shiva Sankuli Kapitan Vipe.
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Parito Vatsaper Vatsmas.
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Chariyan Vrayat Vipu.
Yamuno Pavane Kujad
Yamuna Pavane Kujan.
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Shiva Sanliku Vitam Vipe. Parto Vasta Parvatma.
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Sharma Vad Vipu.
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Yamuna Pavad Gajad.
Yamuno Pavane Kujan
Nija Sankulatang Vive.
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Harito Vatsaper Vatsams
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Yamuno Pavane Kujad
Yamuno Pavane Kujad
Vija Sankuli Tangripe
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Parito Vatsaper Vatsams
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu
Yamuna Pavane Pujan
Yamuno Pavane Kujan
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe
Dvija Sankulitan Gripe Parita,
Parita.
surrounded by
Surrounded by
Vatsapai,
Vatsapai.
cowherd boys,
Cowherd boys.
Vatsan,
Vatsan.
calves,
Calves.
Charayan,
Chariyan.
herding, tending,
herding, tending,
vyaharat,
Vatara,
enjoyed by traveling,
enjoyed by traveling,
Vibhu,
Vibhu,
the Almighty,
the Almighty,
Yamuna,
Yamuna,
the Yamuna River,
Yamuna River,
Upavane,
Upavane,
gardens on the shore,
gardens on the shore,
Kujat,
Ujat,
vibrated
vibrated
by the voice,
by the voice,
Dvija,
Vija,
the twice-born birds,
twice-born words,
Sankulita,
Kulita,
densely situated,
densely situated,
Angripe,
Gripe,
in the trees.
in the trees.
Translation. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Nanda Maharaj was a landholder for King Kamsa, but because by caste he was a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile and agricultural community, he maintained thousands of cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cows, just as the Kshatriyas are to give protection to the human beings. Because the Lord was a child, he was put in charge of the calves with his cowherd boyfriends. These cowherd boys were great rishis and yogis in their previous births, and after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord and could play with him on equal terms. Such cowherd boys never cared to know who Krishna was, but they played with him as a most intimate and lovable friend. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. The forests on the shore of the Yamuna are all beautiful gardens full of trees of mango, jackfruit, apples, guava, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, and so many other plants and fragrant flowers. And because the forest was on the bank of the Yamuna, naturally there were ducks, cranes, and peacocks on the branches of the trees. All these trees and birds and beasts were pious living entities born in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan just to give pleasure to the Lord and his eternal associates, the cowherd boys. While playing like a small child with his associates, the Lord killed many demons, including Aghasura, Bakasura, Palambasura, and Gardabasura. Although he appeared at Vrindavan just as a boy, he was actually like the covered flames of a fire. As a small particle of fire can kindle a great fire with fuel, so the Lord killed all these great demons, beginning from his babyhood in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The land of Vrindavan, the Lord's childhood playground, still remains today, and anyone who visits these places enjoys the same transcendental bliss, although the Lord is not physically visible to our imperfect eyes. Lord Chaitanya recommended this land of the Lord as identical with the Lord and therefore worshipable by the devotees. This instruction is taken up especially by the followers of Lord Chaitanya known as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And because the land is identical with the Lord, devotees like Uddhava and Vidura visited these places 5,000 years ago in order to have direct contact with the Lord, visible or not visible. Thousands of devotees of the Lord are still wandering in these sacred places of Vrindavan, and all of them are preparing themselves to go back home, back to God. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakandi Tamascha. Hey Krishna Karuna Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindubhyeva Cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gavani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyabadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 27, Parito Vatsaper Vatsams, Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu, Yamuno Pavane Kujat, Dvija Sankulitan Gripe. This is Sri Uddhava speaking to Sri Vidura. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River, through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Noticing the word for word, Dvija is translated as the twice-born birds, the Brahminical birds. And Prabhupada discusses that in the purport. So we have a description here of Lord Krishna, described by Uddhava to Vidura. That Lord Krishna, surrounded by his cowherd boys, the friends, the calves, in this beautiful forest setting, pastoral setting, the shore of the Yamuna River, gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. So this is Krishna's Sakya Ras. Yes, the friendship Ras, and Prabhupada elaborates and goes into more nuance in the purport. And the forest on the shore of the Yamuna are all beautiful gardens full of trees of mango, jackfruit, apples, guava, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, and so many other plants and fragrant flowers. And because the forest was on the bank of the Yamuna, naturally there were ducks, cranes, and peacocks on the branches of the trees. All these trees and birds and beasts were pious living entities born in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan, just to give pleasure to the Lord and his eternal associates, the cowherd boys. Right, so this is a very captivating description. So it's a description, and this is, okay, this is a meditation. It's a meditation, and it's meditation. It's meant to be a meditation. Just like we had a few minutes ago, Bhaktin Kim led us in Jaya Radha Madhava. So Yamuna Tira Vanachari, this is a song by, not written in an order, let's call it, it's transpersonal authorship, transpersonal authorship. It's these songs, Shigu Sharana Padma and Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Koro Doya More Jaya Radha Madhava. These are revealed. These are revealed by the pure devotees. So Jaya Radha Madhava, it's revealed by Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. So that's kind of what's described here. Krishna is wandering. He's wandering on the banks of the Yamuna. That's what's described here, on the shore of the Yamuna River, just like this verse. So this is a meditation, because we think, well, meditation means you meditate on a candle, you meditate on your breath, and there's different types of meditation. So this is meditation on the absolute truth in the most core form. Okay. because meditation means description of the ultimate essence and core and foundation and ground of all existence. Well, that must be the void, or that must be a blinding white light. But no, but here we have, this is very personal, vibrant, luminous, alive, vital, vibrant, luminous in color, form, fragrance. Okay. Neither is it just some kind of dim conception of some people playing harps with some clouds in the sky. So very, very, yes, very clear, concrete descriptions. So it's not just a description of a pastoral forest setting. This is a vibration on the absolute truth in its most complete expression. It includes the blinding white light. It includes that. Includes the beautiful harps and like that. So the Srimad Bhagavatam begins, well, actually the very first line of Srimad Bhagavatam is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Then Vyasadeva goes on, Janmanyasya Todvayadi Tirtashtra Tesha Bigeshu Svara. Jani Brahmavida Adhikavi Myanti Atsura. So Janmanyasya means what exists in the effect. What exists in the effect must exist in the source. Janma. So it means like, okay, we like to create in our homes, or we like to go, oh yes, let's go to where there's beautiful gardens. Let's go to where there's beautiful landscaping. Yeah. Oh, these varieties of tasty fruits, guavas, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, fragrant flowers. We like those things. We like to smell those things and taste those things and associate with family and friends and in these beautiful settings. We like to do that, but God can't. How's that make sense? No, our propensity to enjoy form, flavor, touch, smell, sight, our propensity that comes from the Supreme. That's Srila Prabhupada wrote in a couplet of a poem that he wrote honoring Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. Sentient means senses that are built to enjoy. A name for Krishna's Purushottam, the supreme Purusha, like the English word person, comes from the Sanskrit Purusha. Purusha means supreme enjoyer, supreme enjoyer. So we like to enjoy these things. So how can we deny that to our source? Okay. Now, okay, Prabhupada uses so much the term transcendental. We can relate it to the trans-empirical, trans-phenomenal. Let's see, these descriptions, so like here in the material realm, it's essentially a consciousness where I want to be the Param Purusha. I want to be the supreme enjoyer, not Krishna, not God. Okay, so then we have material consciousness. Then, to use different analogies we've used a lot over the years, then like we can get this kind of like virtual reality world, or a sort of dream world where okay, and so just like if we imagine someone's in their computer game or their virtual reality all hooked up, like that. Like, oh look, beautiful trees and fruits, and look, there's a lake. Whoa, okay. But then like someone, objective vision can go, okay, well, that's all very pretty and everything, but look, you look terrible. It looks like you've been in a machine for like 4 days without sleeping. I mean, like, you look terrible. You're pale. It looks like you have a foul odor, you haven't bathed in a while. No, look, we're in a river now. Yeah, but look, but this is just the shadow. This is just the shadow. Okay. So not to minimize the beauty of this world. Yadi yadi bhutima sattvam shima ujitam evava tata eva avagachatam mamatesham sasambhava. Krishna says, know that all beautiful, mighty, and glorious creations in this world spring from but a spark of my splendor. That's the super soul. Super soul is just like an expansion of Krishna, and everything material comes from the super soul. Like, well, we think of super soul. There's like three super souls. There's you might say the macrocosmic super soul, or it's called the metacosmic super soul of the entire material creation. That's Mahavishnu. Then the macrocosmic super soul of this particular universe, that's Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then the microcosmic super soul, the super soul in the heart of all living entities. Sarvasiham Vidisa Nivisto Datarasta Paramanam Chantarastam in every atom. That's the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Okay. So, not to minimize the beauty and the glory and the power of the material creation, at the same time, in terms of the analogy, that's just like the virtual reality game. And so, come on, wake up, come on, see the real trees outside of that machine. Take yourself out of all these hookups and like that. There's real trees, there's real rivers. Okay, so that's okay. So taking that out of the analogy. So again, not to minimize, the beauty of material nature. At the same time, we say like you have your nature, I have my nature. Well, whenever there's nature, it's always there's whose nature is it? It's a person's nature. So whose nature is? That's Krishna's material nature. So this verse describes Krishna's spiritual nature. Spiritual Dham, his spiritual abode, spiritual friend, spiritual fruit, like that. So we meditate on this. This is a meditation. Every verse, just like Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, every line. So this, like we could, but Prabhupada actually wanted us. Maybe he assumed we had like lots better memories than we have, but he wanted us each day to memorize the verse. Are you doing that? Okay. No, he wanted us each day. He says that a few times, to memorize the verse and take it with you through the day. So that's true for every verse. Just like Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's a mantra. It's the Maha Mantra. Every verse in Bhagavad Gita, every verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, every verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's a mantra. It's a divine mantra that reveals truth and is simultaneously non-different from the truth it reveals. Meaning, like whatever we understand or not, just by being exposed to the vibration of these mantras, whether it's Prabhupada's English or the Sanskrit, we get purified because it's transformational sound vibration. But in this verse in particular, we're focusing here today, right? Just just take the Sanskrit with us. We can take any line of Prabhupada's purport, and we're meditating on trans-empirical form, trans-empirical sound, trans-empirical fragrance, trans-empirical color. Trans-empirical means we won't get to it with material mind and senses, and we can enter into it. We get to enter into these blissful descriptions of Krishna's most intimate and loving friends. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. Okay, so it's like, where's my meditation at night? Right? So it's like this is a strong argument for reading Bhagavatam, reading Krishna book before we take rest, and having this meditation, and so this is what's called Raganuga Bhakti. Means just like that. soul felt enthusiasm. How can I serve Krishna's pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada today? How can I serve? Let's just describe. At night, they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. Okay, so we can get how do I get to serve today? And you say, well, I'm not feeling that fresh, inspired enthusiasm every morning like that. Well, okay. And that's why Prabhupada gave us a process called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means we practice. And by practicing, meaning like with our intelligence, we can see, yes, I want to make this my goal. I want to make immersion in these pastimes, in these transcendental scenes. I want to make this my goal right now because of my material conditioning, because of my obstinate, stubborn, deeply entrenched desire that I'll be the center. I'm not feeling it all the time, but I'm going to practice sadhana bhakti, and that's there in any endeavor, right? Like we want to learn to play piano or guitar. Okay, we might practice the scales for a long time, and we practice like that. I know, like, okay. My father first took me to a tennis court at 7 years old, and it was like most of the time we're just chasing the balls here and there because we're hitting them here. You know, like I could do it. Okay, but then okay, as we got better and better, better and better. Oh, this is becoming more fun because it's less chasing the balls, and we can actually like hit it back and forth, and I can do something here. It becomes more and more fun. So it's like that with sadhana bhakti. So more, I can say like I have more and more soul felt spontaneous enthusiasm to read Bhagavatam, to serve Prabhupada's movement. Each year I have more and more. For me, it's still like it's a good thing I have like a commitment to chant 16 rounds per day. I have a commitment to read Prabhupada's books, commitment to morning program, because without the commitment, I'm not like I'm spontaneously in love, like like the Cowherd Boys. But I can have a few drops of process, a few drops of experience to know like, oh, this process is powerful. Wishing I was more surrendered to progress a lot faster on the path, but that's my slowness of surrender. So this is a meditation on transcendental form, and trans-empirical, meaning we get there through bhakti. We get there through bhakti, and we get to absorb ourselves in verses like this. We get to absorb ourselves, and we might say, oh, the mind wants to do other things. I want to look at this on the internet. I want to talk about this. At the same time, with some distinction we can get, like when we read this verse. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. So the souls that's actually me. The soul's very satisfied. The soul's coming. The soul's awakening. The soul's awakening. So this is a meditation. It's soul because it's personal, and it engages all the spiritual senses. And by absorbing ourselves in such meditation, gradually we're transforming our material senses to spiritual senses. We're uncovering where our spiritual senses get revealed through this process. Yes, and so that's why in the sadhana bhakti, we're encouraged to meditate on these forms, these pastimes, Krishna's associates, the cowherd boys, the calves. Kujat kokila hamsa sarasagana kine mayora kule. It describes the 6 Goswamis of they're absorbed in the pastimes of Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan with so many transcendental varieties of flowers and fruits. And Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Ke Chalalite Hey Nanda Suno Kuta Shri Govardhana Kalpa Padapatale Kalindi Vane Kuta Gosantaditi Sarvato Vrajapuri Hider Mahavivalapande Basanatana Ragu Yoga Sri Jiva Gopalaka. Prabhupada, this is about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He says, yeah, the Goswamis, they weren't like that were with Krishna, but they're always in that mood of separation from Krishna in the forests of Vrindavan, on the banks of the Yamuna, Govardhan, and like that, all these beautiful descriptions given. And, there's, so whether it's the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the pastimes, it's all a meditation to absorb our heart, to absorb our mind, absorb our consciousness. Srila Prabhupada so much loved the Brahma Samhita verses. Each one's a meditation. The Chintamani verse, these are beautiful, beautiful verses, just like this one. Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha. Abodes built of spiritual gems. Lakshaviteshu Dhira Vipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambram Sayamanam Govindamari Pusham Tambaham Tamam Bhajami. Again, it's not just a song, it's not just a poem. This is Brahma revealing Vrindavan to us, revealing the spiritual world, revealing the most complete, intimate expression of the absolute truth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who's tending the cows in abodes built of spiritual gems, yielding all desires, surrounded by millions of purpose trees and served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. So just any part of that verse, the English, the Sanskrit, it purifies our heart and it moves us to our original consciousness of love for Krishna. Prabhupada, well, this whole verse, Prabhupada's referencing, he's really referencing a section of Krishna book, where the 10th canto, Krishna book and the 10th canto were more or less equivalent. And he's referencing a section right at the beginning of chapter 12 of Krishna book. It's kind of right before the Agasura demon pastime. And right before that pastime, and there's these beautiful descriptions of the cowherd boys in Vrindavan. And Sri Sukadev Goswami described Itam Satam Brahma Sukan Bhuchya Dasyam Gatanam Paradevatena Mayashitanam Naradara Kena Sakam Vijaro Kritapunya Punja. It describes about these cowherd boys, and because of just so much pious credit, and they've been great rishis. They've been great rishis and sages, and now they're revealing themselves as pure devotees. And pure devotees, just like we like friendship. I think yesterday we had the Bhagavad Gita discussion with the Singapore Malaysia group. Very, very inspiring Vaishnavas there, simultaneous, just soft and tender-hearted and very sharp intellectually and philosophically. And I was giving an example. Maybe it was 2 days ago here. Just like Prabhupada gives the example. There was some big political or business leader in England, and someone wanted to see him, and the secretary said, "Oh, he's busy, so you need to wait. You need to wait." So the secretary left or something, but then the person who was waiting said, "Well, what's going on here? It's like an hour." I said, "Well, time's passing." So he opened the door, and this big political leader, he was on all fours. He was playing horsey with his grandson on his back, driving him like that. But he had so many things to do, so many meetings to do, and this and that. But clearly, what he really wanted to do, he was playing horsey for his grandson. Okay, so similarly, Krishna, sure, like, okay, there's Krishna in the form of Narayan, Vishnu, or God, say kind of like God of the Old Testament, that sort of thing, awe and reverence, and that's a relation with God. and that's purifying and like that. At the same time, okay, Krishna really wants to be wrestling with the cowherd boys and like that. And that's why it's a kind of like, that's why Krishna Vrindavan wants nothing to do with the material energy. The material energy is managed through different Vishnu expansions. But Krishna Vrindavan, he is simply enjoying. Yeah, yeah. And then sometimes Goloka Vrindavan manifests in this realm as Gokula Vrindavan, Yada 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 Visa Glenir Bhavati Bharata Bhutanam Dharma Shataramanam Shijanya. For us to be attracted. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a purport. It's a purport to the verse 15.6, I believe. Natat basayate suryo shashanko yadgatvanandi vartante tatama paramam gata. Where Krishna says, yes, in this abode, talking about this abode, Vrindavan, the Vaikuntha planets, he said there's no need for electricity. Prabhupada translates it as electricity. No need for electricity or sun or moon, because each atom, Chintamani atom, is self-effulgent. And the Prabhupada writes in the purport, like, one should be captivated by this, right? Like if we're awake, this description, this emotional, transcendental emotional description from the Uddhava to Dora, Krishna just gives a glimpse of the window to the spiritual world in Bhagavad Gita, much more expanded here, Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada said, one should be captivated by this, meaning like a travel brochure. We have a travel brochure. Yes, come to Rio de Janeiro, come to Bombay, come to Paris, travel brochure. Visit Japan. Here's what you'll see, and here's okay. So this is travel brochures for Goloka Vrindavan. And so Prabhupada is like, out of compassion, urging us, like, get attracted, make this the goal of your life, not just the virtual reality type of trees and fruits and things like that. The actual substantial thing, right? Like the shadow, like the actual substantial object is not dependent on the shadow. Some material realm with all of its variety, it's a shadow. And the shadow is completely dependent on the subject. And from the shadow, we can get some idea that the object exists, but we don't really get any sense of the substance of the object. So like travel brochures, like let's cultivate a desire to go there. And then the process, and that's the process, really the process of sadhana bhakti. The process in Bhakti Yoga, a beautiful, amazing aspect is the journey is the goal. So here we are on a Sunday morning. July 3rd, 2022. And we're hearing about the Yamuna River and Krishna playing like a small child with his associates. So that's it. We've achieved the goal. We've done. Congratulations. This is it. This is the goal. Okay. And this is also the journey. And then by absorbing ourselves in this Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasiddhina Rasa Vajramasopyasya Paramdrishta Nivartate, we get some higher taste. The material tastes, they pale in comparison. Okay. So this is the goal, and this is the journey to the goal. And of course, the challenge for me and many, I think, is to, okay, this is the goal. Like, yes, let me just stay absorbed here 24 hours a day for the next week, month, year, while I'm in this body. Just that's it. So to steadily be absorbed in the goal. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. And Srila Prabhupada, as our current link to the Parampara, our Acharya, that he's giving us so many ways. He's giving us ways through Japa, Hare Krishna chanting, through all of his books. You can just see just this one verse. This verse, this is a complete meditation for the day, for a lifetime. And he's giving us thousands and thousands of verses and purports, each one transcendental vibration, each one a meditation to enthuse the soul to our original consciousness of Krishna consciousness. And now generally the process, generally the progression is nama rupa guna lila. Like, means starts with the name. That's why the main emphasis, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyamatma, Nivedanam. That Iti Pushpara Pita Vishnu Bhaktis Chen Navala Kritam Bhagavat Yada Tanmanye Ditam Uttama. That Prahlad Maharaj described. Yeah, the foundational processes are hearing and chant. We hear and chant. That's why we're encouraged. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as we chant Krishna's names more and more, and we're encouraged Dritavrata to chant with some commitment. Chant when we feel like it. That's wonderful. Same time, we're encouraged, like we want to, like each day of our life, to make substantial progress out of the ocean material existence, out of the blazing fire material existence, towards love of God, towards realizing who we are. It's not the body. We're going to make substantial progress because, like, the gravity of the material energy, the gravity of the lower modes, it's just like incredibly strong. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Devi Yesha Gunamahi, Mama Maya Duraya, Mame Vaye Prapajante, Maya Me Tam Tarantite. He says this material energy is like impossible to cross. Just like even so, oh, but I was if we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, like, oh, I was on the swim team in high school, I can do this. No, it doesn't matter, like, you know, how much you exercise, you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you're not going to make it. But Krishna says, but one who surrenders to me can easily cross beyond. Because Mama Maya says, this is my Maya, this is my energy. So one can easily cross beyond through bhakti, through surrender. And generally the process starting with chanting the name, and, you know, from like substantial progress, then it's encouraged, give some vow, like some minimum, and stick to that for the rest of our life. And we can increase, but not to decrease. That's general. Again, even without any vow, any chanting of God's names is for our, you know, eternal auspicious benefit. And then through the name, then these meditations, then the form and the land of Vrindavan and the pastimes, they get naturally revealed. At the same time, we accelerate the process by absorbing ourselves in songs like Jaya Radha Madhava, Yashodanandana, Brajajana, Ranjan, like all the rasas, all the relationships are there. The Sakya rasa, the friendship relationship, the parental relationship with Mother Yashoda, the conjugal relationship with the gopis, the relationship with the land, the rocks and the trees. So we absorb ourselves in verses like this, and the Prabhupada's given us unlimited ways to meditate on this most complete, grounded core revelation of the absolute truth. I'll read the verse again. Text 27, chapter 2, canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam. Parito vatsaper vatsams charayan viharad vibhu yamuno pavane kujan dvija sankulitan ripe. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River, through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Hare Krishna, thanks for your presence and association. I welcome at this time if anyone would like to share any comments or realizations or ask any questions. Garuda Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear Govinda, for your class. Yeah, I was appreciating just having that just that pastime or the pastimes and the visual just to meditate on.
Yeah,
You know, I think about from my own experience, like there's so much pleasure in being like this natural world can be very pleasurable to be in, to observe the plants and
Yeah,
the animals and
yeah.
how it's like, you know, just interacting with each other and how beautiful that experience, just appreciating
yeah,
the beauty of nature. And then also with associates, like
Yeah.
I can relate to that personally, like that if there's like the fondest memories I have with individuals, most of the time we're in nature
in nature, yeah,
and we're playing,
yeah,
you know, so I'm
Right.
really,
yeah,
you know, just kind of, I can connect to that personally, and so I'm really appreciating that
Mm.
that meditation, that we have that meditation and the details of that meditation, and that's Krishna's favorite pastime, and I'm like,
Mm.
yes, I can connect to that
Yeah.
100%.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and then also what came up for me is, you know, you know, I haven't extensively, you know, read the books, all these books yet. I'm wondering, like, the demons Krishna kills directly, are they all like associates in the spiritual world, from the spiritual world? We have like Kashipu, like, you know, and his brother were, you know,
Mm.
gatekeepers, and you know, is that pretty consistent? Like when Krishna kills them directly, like specific demons that he kills directly, because it was talking a little bit about that.
Mentions a
before.
few, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of wondering what, it's just this question that I have, like, is there any, you know, is that pretty consistent? Like even Putna, who's Putna in the spiritual world? Like, you know, because these, you know, I look at, like, you know, even hearing about Putna, I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. He was talking specifically that, you know, Putna would kill babies and drink their blood, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a pastime that she had. So
Right.
I'm just like,
It's like-
I'm like,
It's
yeah, you know, it's like some of the darkest,
pretty heavy demoniac stuff.
yeah, some of the darkest stuff that, you know, exists in the world that we live in, you know, and I was exposed to the reality of that at a younger age, you know,
Yeah.
that, you know, people do this,
Yes.
and it's, you know, what they do, and I'm like, okay, you know, so I'm just kind of, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of, and then kind of, it helps me kind of like step out of like my conception of like right and wrong, good or bad, because it's like, okay, well, if these are all associates in the spiritual world and they're coming here and they're playing out some of the like darkest demoniac activities,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so it's like, you know, it kind of, it's been supportive for me to kind of look at that. And I was just kind of wondering that question, like when Krishna kills them directly, you know, because I know in the like the age that we're living in, like Lord Chaitanya's movement, like the holy name was to kill the demoniac consciousness. That's what we have for this age,
Right.
in this time. And I'm just kind of looking at, like, you know, when Krishna comes directly
Yes.
to, you know, kill these, you know, demons. I don't know, just kind of pondering that a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with it. I was just kind of curious about that a little bit.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Everything else.
Right. It's again, these talking about demons. We can think of like some cartoon. You know, Putin was doing this like most darkest stuff. Hiranyakashipu, you know, we know the story of Prahlad. If we think about it, like, okay, he had this like very nice, sweet boy, pure devotee of God, all of wonderful qualities. And he was, in a sense, he was not only attempting to kill his son, he was like torturing him. And it's just like, and we know, so he was like he was a gatekeeper in the spiritual world. So as far as whether like when Krishna comes here and Gokula Vrindavan and kills these demons, and as you said, in this age with Lord Chaitanya, it's about killing the demoniac mentality. Whether all of the demons are kind of like Hiranyakashipu, like coming from the spiritual world to enact some theater. I don't know if that's true for all of them. We know for sure that if Krishna is directly killing them, then there's something special. But I don't know the story of all of them. I don't know the story of all of them.
Yeah, I was just had a thought that, we're all the spirit souls are actually associates of Krishna in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so through this process, we're like, killing the demoniac consciousness so we are being killed by Krishna too directly through that process.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about at the moment. So
yeah, I like that perspective. And I appreciate you share. Like, personally, you can see, and that's true for me too. Growing up, nature, hike in the woods, and friendship in the woods, and maybe sometimes not always the healthiest activity, but what we do in the woods, but still, we always like to be in nature. Like, okay, so where's that come from? Oh, that comes from our source. That comes from our source. And just and when we enter into those nature pastimes engaged in by the source, Krishna, okay, then it's completely purified with no inebriation, no contamination. And that's also like, we can understand something about the absolute by studying ourselves. If I have that propensity, must exist in its original pure form in Krishna. Thanks for that, Guru. Hare Krishna. Thank you. In this conversation, I'm remembering, our dear friend Dravanaksha Prabhu. I remember this was many years ago, but he shared to me part of his coming to Krishna story. And Dravanaksha Prabhu passed away about 3 years ago. But he shared with me that, because like there's a conception of God as all powerful. God is all powerful, and God is omniscient and present and omnipotent and to be feared, and different conceptions of God, which all have their truth. Then Ravanaksha shared with me that when he saw Krishna book, I guess it was in the early 70s when he was, first introduced to Prabhupada's teachings. He saw Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, and Prabhupada, right from the beginning, he emphasized God, Krishna, as the supreme enjoyer. And then for Dravanaksha, that really resonated. He said that captivated him. Because further, this big, worshipable, fearsome, okay. But he said, like, this would be like that, and then he read Krishna book, like, that makes sense. That makes sense, because like, we all want to be the supreme enjoyer. We all want to enjoy, so it makes sense that God, the supreme, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer. So that's what we're hearing here. We all want to enjoy in these ways, and we get to enjoy in these ways when we give up the desire and propensity to try to enjoy separately. Yes, let me serve the Vrindavan pastimes. Let me serve the Yamuna River. Let me become a servant of the cowherd boys through our prominent current link to the Parampara Srila Prabhupada. Then we get to experience the same quality of enjoyment as described in this verse. I remember in my this was, some of you know, aspects of my history, and reading Prabhupada's books for a few years. My main service was taking lots of prasadam there in State College, Pennsylvania, and then I backpacked around Europe, and I went to some huge devotee festivals in Italy, in Villa outside of Florence, and then after some time in Israel, in '84, I joined the ashram in Ra'anana outside of Tel Aviv, and after about 2 months there, I went home to visit my parents, and I got kidnapped. It's a whole story, and then I had convinced the deprogrammers that I was seeing the light, and let me I should really just, open a real estate agency on Webster Avenue in Philadelphia. What was I thinking? Just chanting Hare Krishna. So they were convinced that I just want to be a normal person. Okay. Then they sent me to a rehab center in Iowa City. Some people say Iowa City. It's a contradiction in terms. Anyhow, so then from there I escaped because there was no longer the thugs, and I made my way first to the ISKCON temple in Chicago, Avenue, still there, I'm sure, Lent Avenue, and I remember I associated there with Ganapati Swami and Mitrasena Das, and I rode in their motorhome. We did some college preaching, and on my way back to Pennsylvania, I was in Detroit briefly. And I just remember there, I remember one devotee in Detroit, I don't remember his name, but he was telling me his coming to Krishna story. Now this is summer of June 84. But he was saying that like is the dioramas, like Prabhupada had the dioramas, the Fate Museum, first in Los Angeles, then Detroit. So I wanted to give Krishna consciousness through creative cultural enterprises. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta back in 20s, 30s, he had these dioramas, he had these exhibits, presenting the pastimes of Krishna through these different figurines and dolls. So there was the Fate Museum in Detroit, and this Prabhu, I think maybe he'd been in Krishna consciousness 5-6 years, and he was just, because it was so unlike my process, reading the books. After more than 1,000 plates of prasad, my heart got purified enough to chant one round of Hare Krishna, like that. But he said, like he visited the temple and he saw these pastimes in Vrindavan through these diorama exhibits, and he just said, I knew it. I just surrendered then. And he said he still had struggle surrendering, but I just knew these are the pastimes of God. These are the pastimes of the Absolute. And it struck me because that was June of 84, so it's a while ago. It took 38 years ago, but it struck me because because clearly he's like a devotee and just Krishna's pastimes through Prabhupada and the diorama exhibits. And my process was so different and gradual like that. But he could see he's a devotee and whatever, took birth in an American body, and then came and saw the pastimes in this exhibit. And I know this is it. So, Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your devotional association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.